Dimly lit. Clouds of cigarette smoke hang in the air like smog in the LA basin. Scantily clad females wearing fuck me but don't ask me to walk heels, or seated on bar stools or at tables, talking to the customers, all of whom are men. The women take dainty, controlled sips of expensive, watered-down cocktails. Like the B-girls of old, their job is to stay sober while encouraging the customers to spend as much as possible. Conversation vies with the music blaring over the PA. A lushly figured brunette occupies a small triangular stage in the back. Her luxuriant hair whips back and forth as she writhes for the pleasure of several men seated nearby. She's trying to simulate ecstasy, but looks more like she's trying to claw her way out, or simply can't keep time to the music. Up on the central stage, a hard-bodied girl with silicone breasts gyrates expertly. Two gold lycra triangles barely cover her 38D hooters. A third triangle does its best to cover her nether regions. A black lycra skirt and gold lame top lie where they were discarded during her first dance. This is her third number. Sweat glistens from her orangey tan in a bottle. The seats rimming the stage are full, men of all ages watching with varying degrees of interest and lust. Some place dollar bills on the edge of the stage. One enthusiastic businessman shells out $10. The music builds to its climax. She grasps the pole that stands center stage and slides up and down, her groin thrust against the metal. Head thrown back with calculated abandon, she slides down the pole as the music fades in an unintentional parody of the dying Odette in Swan Lake. To scattered applause, the dancer retrieves her clothes and makes her way around the stage to collect her tips. The bouncer/doorman, a hugely muscled fellow, watches to make sure none of the men try to touch her. I watch all of this from the dressing room door, nervously adjusting my top as the house DJ demands another round of applause for Bambi, who rudely pushes past me. The DJ then announces the next main stage dancer, Gypsy. I thread my way through the tables, hoping I don't break an ankle in my 3-inch heels, that my wig and/or my top doesn't fall off, and wonder for the first time, what the hell am I doing here? The answer was deceptively simple. An actress between jobs, I was sick of doing temporary secretarial gigs to pay the bills. I wanted something creative. Katie, a fellow unemployed actor, landed a job at a bikini bar on Sunset Boulevard, running the sound system and introducing dancers. Several girls had recently quit, so the bar was looking for replacements. 3 to 5 sets per 6-hour shift, 3 dances per set. Was I interested? I thought about it. I've always loved dancing. I studied flamenco, ballet, belly dancing, and I've always been the last survivor on a dance floor at a party, or used to be back in the day. I'd done a stint as an artist model. While not an exhibitionist, I had no problem being partially unclothed in a room full of people. But dancing on stage in a thong bikini, my mother would spin in her grave, if she was dead. Well, said Katie, it didn't have to be a thong, but the girls who wore them generally did make better tips. I was young, stupid, and broke. I took the job. I met JD, a friend of Katie's who managed half the dancers at the club. In exchange for a whopping 7% of my earnings, JD's management meant slightly better hourly wages, exemption from chatting with customers between sets, and the privilege of being 5 minutes late without having my paycheck docked. While JD struck me as sort of a low-key pimp, the thought of being forced to socialize with customers was incentive enough to accept his management. Besides, I didn't have to audition to get hired. JD's word was evidently good enough. Katie took me shopping on Hollywood Boulevard. An aspiring go-go dancer required a bikini or 2-piece equivalent, high-heeled shoes, preferably bone-colored to make the legs look longer, at least according to Sid Charisse, pasties, worn by most dancers in case their tops fell off, and interesting overgarments for the entrances. These would be taken off during the first dance of each set. As I browsed racks of glittery, tacky bathing suits, I felt like I was going for the before look in Pretty Women. I hated everything Katie excitedly held up and decided to be inventive with what I already owned. I did, however, purchase 2 sets of pasties, one in black sequins, the other in silver, because I couldn't resist the novelty. Maybe I'd attach tassels and learn how to twirl my... Nah, I just put them on and hope my top didn't fall off. I also brought a long, curly, dark brown wig that made me look like I should wear gold bangles and dance with the tambourine, singing golden earrings. The wig inspired my stage name. I wanted to avoid names ending in that long E vowel, Bambi, Candy, Sandy, Randy, but I thought Gypsy had a certain class the others lacked. Okay, I needed all the illusions I could get. Looking at it as if I was playing a part helped, even made the preparations fun. For my costume, I stitched silver chain mail and black crystal drops to a black push-up bra and chose French-cut black lace underwear in lieu of a thong. Years of costume collecting provided ample choices for my outer attire, so I put together several combinations that enhanced what I thought of as the gypsy image. My last preparation was musical selection. Each girl made a tape suited to her personality and style of dancing. My tape ranged from Wild Girls to Black Velvet to the theme from heavy metal. There was some Prince, some Robert Palmer, even some fine young cannibals. And yes, this gives you an idea of how long this was written. The only requirement for me was a certain kind of beat, something steady, sensual. I practiced dancing alone in my boyfriend's living room, combining belly dancing and flamenco with a modern twist. I didn't want to be one of those dancers whose entire repertoire consisted of grasping her ankles and bending over with her back to the audience, or lying on her back, simulating orgasm. According to Katie, they made the best tips. Okay, I wanted to make money, but I also wanted to respect myself in the morning, and faking sex on stage was just not for me. All the preparation in the world didn't prevent a major attack of jitters my first night. I tried to settle my nerves with a shot of whiskey. By the time my set rolled around, I was as ready as I'd ever be. Katie announced the debut of Gypsy. As I passed the tiny sound booth where she perched on a stool, she gave me a thumbs up and an encouraging smile. With my stomach in whiskey-soaked knots, I reached the 3 stairs leading up to the stage. Could I do this? I looked around at the audience, perversely hoping no one would be paying attention. No such luck. Most of the men around the stage and the bar were looking in my direction, because after all, I was fresh meat. Was it too late to change my mind? Yep. The opening chords of Wild Women Do poured out of the speakers. I had no time to do anything but get up on that stage and dance. Taking a deep breath, I successfully negotiated the stairs and strode confidently onto the stage, catching the rhythm of the music as I did so. The strong lights brought a faint sheen of perspiration to my skin before the first dance was halfway over. The wig prevented my body heat from escaping. With a sigh of relief, I discarded my black chiffon and velvet top, revealing the bejeweled bra underneath. That allowed me to at least feel the breeze from the fans at the back of the stage. I grabbed the pole with one hand and spun around, sending my top wafting towards stage right. I caught the eye of a man sitting close by. His face was impassive as he nodded. He put $1 on the stage. Cool, I thought, my first tip. I gave him what I thought was a distantly sultry smile and continued my set as the first song melded into She Drives Me Crazy. When the last song ended, my wig was still in place, my top had not revealed my pasty-free nipples, and the stage was littered with quite a few bills. Belly dancing and flamenco had stood me in good stead, allowing me to be sensual and sexy without being tacky, I hoped. And the biggest surprise? I'd had fun. Famous last words. 2 a.m., 3 sets later. 5 if you count the 2 I did in the small stage. The rosy glow had worn off. As I limped out to my car reeking of smoke, I came to several conclusions. First, support the new girl on the block? Ha! I quickly learned he would just as soon steal your pasties as look at you. I was confounded by the attitudes of many dancers who shared the long, narrow dressing room. Second, and I admit, this is a meow moment. If a dancer had invested in silicone, she invariably had teased and dyed blonde hair, a bitchy attitude, and tended towards the screwing the pole style of dancing. She also gravitated towards other silicone sisters. Third, doing fill-in dances on the backstage just sucked. Those dancers rarely got tips. Worse, they had to dance to music chosen by the main stage girl. I dreaded the backstage whenever Robbie, a sturdy little redhead with cropped hair, danced up front. Now, Robbie was a fireball. She spent half her set whirling around like an aerobic Tasmanian devil, and the other half literally climbing to the pole to the ceiling, hanging upside down and spinning around and around back to the ground. I mean, it was really fun to watch, but it made me dizzy. And unfortunately, she favored 80s death rock. And that's impossible for anyone but Robbie to dance to effectively. Fourth, you dance for yourself, not for the customers. Sound perverse? Not at all. Oddly enough, the men don't concentrate on what's happening on stage. They're either trying to pick up the B-girls or staring morosely into their drinks. Trying to make them pay attention makes a dancer look desperate. Kara, possessor of thick chestnut brown hair, milky skin, and a rubinesque figure, swayed on stage, happily lost in her own world. Fifth, not all men who come to these clubs like women. I'm talking downright misogynists. They sit at the very edge of the stage and stare at the dancers with a hostile expression that says, "I dare you to turn me on, you bitch."